been a hot minute, guys, but I'm back. Okay, I'm here. We are making videos again, and the season's starting again with League One starting tonight. So let's go through predictions for the season for League One and see where we end up. Obviously, I'll do League Two tomorrow as well before the League Two games, and we'll see where we're at. We're going to go on with our predictions and talk about FPL again, and we'll get back into the routine of things. That's what we need. We need that routine to reset, guys, and we'll go back at it. Let's go with starting off with Luton and Wimbledon playing against each other. We got 3-1 Luton opening game of the season. I'm going back to winning ways. Cardiff and Peterborough drawing 2-2. Blackpool beating Stevenage. Bradford. What am I going to do? I'm going to draw 1-1. Burton Albion, lucky last season, I'm going to 1-1 with that Mansfield there. Doncaster to beat Exeter on that first game there. And then Huddersfield beating Leyton Orient. Lincoln getting beat by Reading. We're going to see Plymouth and Barnsley. No, we'll see Plymouth beating Barnsley. Rotherham beating Port Vale. Wigan beating Northampton on opening day there. And then Stockport drawing with Bolton on Sunday. Be a huge game that. We're going to calculate around game week 10, and then we're going to see where we're going to go from there. Port Vale drawing with Cardiff. We're going to see Peterborough drawing with Luton. Oh my god. Reading beating Huddersfield. Big shock on there. Wimbledon beating Lincoln. Barnsley beating Burton comfortably there. Bolton then beating Plymouth. Not starting things off how they'd like to start things off down here. Leyton Orient beating Wigan. Mansfield drawing with Doncaster. We'll see Northampton get beat by the Bantams. 2-0 by Bradford. Stevenage beating Rotherham, and then Wycombe. But last season, 3-1 win there against Stockport. Burton and Port Vale drawing. Exeter beating Mansfield there. Barnsley drawing with Bolton. Blackpool getting beat by Huddersfield away there. Bradford beating Luton. Bradford on a good little run here. Bradford on a good little run. Cardiff beating Rotherham. I don't think they could keep it up for the whole season, but for now they are. Doncaster beating Wycombe. We're going to see Stockport win that game against Leyton Orient. Lincoln and Plymouth win that game away from home. Reading beating Wimbledon. Reading on a really good start here. Stevenage and Northampton drawing, and Wigan drawing 0-0. First 0-0 of the year in game week 3 there. Wimbledon and Cardiff. Wimbledon to beat Cardiff. We're going to see Huddersfield beating Doncaster, and we're going to see Wigan getting beat by Luton. Mansfield and Blackpool. See Blackpool win that game. Northampton getting beat by Lincoln. Peterborough beating Barnsley. Barnsley not starting the year. They want to start the year off. Plymouth beating Leyton Orient. Port Vale being beat by Stevenage. Rotherham and Burton Albion drawing. Stockport beating Bradford. Wycombe beating Exeter, and then Bolton beating Reading there on a big one for them. Luton beating Cardiff 3-1. Rotherham beating Wigan. Wimbledon getting beat by Barnsley. Bolton beating Lincoln. We're going to see Huddersfield beat Stevenage. We're going to see Mansfield draw with Leyton Orient. We're going to see Northampton beat Exeter. Peterborough beat Bradford. Plymouth drawing with Blackpool. Port Vale drawing with Doncaster. Stockport beating Burton, and then Wycombe beating Reading there. So we'll push on to game week 10. That's when we'll calculate in game week 10, and we'll see where we're at with that. Cardiff beating Plymouth. Big result for them there. Doncaster and Rotherham drawing. Barnsley drawing with Huddersfield as well. Oh my god, Blackpool, Bolton. That's just these games where I'm just seeing draws. Bradford beating Wimbledon. Burton getting beat by Luton. There, no worries. Exeter and Peterborough drawing. Leyton Orient beating Northampton. Lincoln beating Mansfield. Reading beating Port Vale. Stevenage getting beat by Wycombe, and then Wigan getting beat by Stockport. Blackpool beating Luton. Bolton beating Wimbledon. Cardiff walking over Burton. Doncaster just beating Bradford. Huddersfield beating Peterborough. Lincoln beating Wigan. We'll see Plymouth drawing with Stockport. We'll see Port Vale beating Leyton Orient. Reading and beating Northampton. Rotherham beating Exeter. Stevenage getting beat by Barnsley, and then Wycombe winning their game against Mansfield there, 3-0. So we get to game 10 and we'll see where we're at with the season. Barnsley there beating Reading, Bradford and Huddersfield. Like, if, you know, local derby. Huddersfield obviously a bit bigger than Bradford right now, but Bradford getting the result that they want there. Burton beating Lincoln, Exeter beating Port Vale. We'll see Bolton beating Leyton Orient, Luton drawing with Plymouth. Plymouth will draw a lot of games right now. Northampton getting beat by Blackpool. We're going to see Peterborough and Wycombe draw. We're going to see Stockport and Cardiff draw. And we're going to see Wigan beaten by Doncaster. Blackpool beating Barnsley. Barnsley not having the greatest time right now. Cardiff drawing with Bradford. Doncaster beating Wimbledon. Huddersfield beating Burton. Lincoln getting beat by Luton. Plymouth beating the Posh. Port Vale and Mansfield drawing. Reading beating Leyton Orient. Rotherham getting beat by Stockport. We'll see Stevenage drawing with Exeter, and then Wycombe beating Northampton. We'll see. I wonder where we are actually at right now in this table. As Wimbledon beat Wycombe there, Barnsley then beat Port Vale, Blackpool beating Bradford, Burton getting beat by Plymouth, Exeter losing to Huddersfield. Quite a few away wins here. Leyton Orient drawing with Stevenage, Luton beating Doncaster, Mansfield drawing with Rotherham, Northampton being beat by Bolton, Peterborough drawing with Lincoln, Stockport beating Reading. And then Wigan getting beat by Cardiff. We're going to calculate the table, and Bolton are top of the league, unbeaten so far, 24 points. Huddersfield just behind them. Blackpool, Stockport, Luton and Wycombe. Teams that you can expect to be up there, right up there. As I said, it's three of the teams that were challenging for last year, and they, Luton, one of the relegated teams, alongside Plymouth. And actually, Cardiff down 11th, not pretty far off it. Relegation zone: Wigan, Northampton, Burton and Port Vale all sat deep in relegation zone right now. Northampton and Wigan, the ones feeling the biggest bit of force down there. We'll wait and see if anything can change over the next game week. Game week 15 might be a good place to do it, and then obviously in game week 23 is when we'll look at it again. As Blackpool beat Wimbledon, Bolton draw with Peterborough. Another mark there for him. Cardiff beating Leyton Orient, Doncaster beating Burton, Huddersfield beating Stockport, Lincoln next to drawing, Plymouth beating Wigan, so nothing's really changing there for Wigan still. Port Vale beaten by Northampton, Reading beating Mansfield, Rotherham and Bradford drawing. Oh, sorry, I really have a bad nose right now. Stevenage getting beat by Luton, and Wycombe just beating Barnsley. Wimbledon beating Port Vale. We'll see Barnsley and Cardiff draw. Bradford beating Lincoln. Burton drawing with Bolton. Exeter getting beat by Reading, Leyton Orient beating Doncaster. Luton beating Huddersfield. Mansfield drawing with Plymouth. We're going to see Northampton beating Rotherham. We're going to see Peterborough drawing with Stevenage. We're going to see Stockport beaten by Blackpool. Blackpool on a really good run right now. And then Wycombe beating Wigan there. Blackpool beating Wycombe, no. Bradford beaten by Barnsley. Burton Albion beating Peterborough. Cardiff definitely beating Reading in that game there. Doncaster beating Northampton. Huddersfield and Bolton. Ooh, we're going to go 2-1 Huddersfield. Getting their wins on the board. Bolton's first loss on the board. Lincoln beating Stevenage. We're going to see Luton just beat Mansfield. We're going to see Wimbledon beat Plymouth. Rotherham drawing with Leyton Orient there. Stockport beating Exeter, and then Wigan getting another win on the board. More themselves to try and survive. Wimbledon beating Burton. Barnsley beating Rotherham. Big wins there for them. Bolton and Cardiff drawing. Exeter and Plymouth. 4-2 there for Plymouth. Leyton Orient beating Lincoln. Mansfield beaten by Wigan. Northampton beaten by Luton. Peterborough beating Blackpool. Port Vale beaten by Stockport. Reading and Doncaster drawing. Stevenage beating Bradford, and then a 3-all game between Wycombe and Huddersfield. I think that's fair. Blackpool still winning. Blackpool still on their winning ways as Bradford beat Burton there. Doncaster and Barnsley drawing. Exeter beating Wigan. Huddersfield beating Plymouth there. Northampton drawing with Mansfield. Peterborough drawing with Wimbledon. Reading beating Stevenage. Rotherham beaten away by Lincoln. Stockport drawing with Luton. And then a 3-2 win for Leyton Orient there. Game week 15, calculated Blackpool top of the table now on 35 points after 15 games. Not dropped too many. I mean, Bolton have only got 1 loss on the board, but he has sat in 4th place. I mean, most of the teams in double digits now. It's only Port Vale that have not managed to reach that point yet. In the bottom half, looking at how the bottom half you expected to. Bradford maybe a bit higher than I expected them to be. Doncaster really a lot higher than I expected them to be honest. Who's the other? So it was Doncaster, Wimbledon and Bradford that came up now. Who else? I can't remember who else came up with them, to be honest. Wait, oh, it's one of them. It goes on my head. Wimbledon then beating Stockport. Barnsley beating Northampton. Burton beaten by Blackpool. Cardiff beating Huddersfield there. Big result for them. Leyton Orient beating Exeter. We're going to see Doncaster beat Lincoln. We're going to see Luton beating Rotherham. We're going to see Mansfield actually beating Peterborough. Bradford getting beat by Plymouth there. Nothing crazy. Was it Wycombe win their game, Bolton win their game, and Wigan drawing their game against Reading. Wimbledon beating Wigan, Barnsley beating Luton, Bolton beating Bradford. Yeah, I think that we can't argue that one too much. Burton beating Exeter, Leyton Orient beating Blackpool, because you know not every game is as cut and dry. Not every game goes exactly how you expect it to go. Peterborough and Stockport, I will draw there. Port Vale beating Plymouth. Reading beating Rotherham. See Doncaster beating Stevenage, and Wycombe beating Lincoln. So we'll calculate again in game 23 where we're at with the table looking. Blackpool beating Reading, Bradford then beating Exeter. Bradford, you know, getting the wins in there. Burton and Leyton Orient drawing. Cardiff beating Mansfield. Doncaster beating Peterborough. Oh my god, Huddersfield drawing with Wimbledon. Lincoln drawing 3-0 with Port Vale. Luton getting beat by Bolton. That's a huge game, that is. 3-1 there. Rotherham getting beat by Wycombe. Stockport and Barnsley drawing in, and Wigan beating Stevenage. Things are heating up. Things are heating up. Doncaster beaten by Stockport County. Exeter drawing with Wimbledon. Leyton Orient trying to get a result, but Luton not allowing it. Not allowing none of that. Lincoln and Barnsley drawing. Mansfield drawing with Bolton. Northampton getting beat by Huddersfield. Port Vale. Bradford getting that win there. It's important for them to get these wins. Stevenage, another win there for Cardiff. Wigan winning that game is Burton. Wycombe and Plymouth drawing. As Reading and Peterborough draw their game as well. Sorry about the nose, guys. I do apologise. I'm trying to minimise it, but I am ill. I am ill trying to do these predictions. Blackpool and Lincoln. Blackpool winning that game. Bolton winning their game there. Blackpool still probably going to be top by the time we get round to the results here. Cardiff winning that game is Doncaster. Huddersfield definitely beating Wigan. Yeah, big win there for Luton. Big wins all around for the home teams, to be honest there. Doncaster getting a result of Plymouth. Exeter not holding Barnsley back. Leyton Orient beating Bradford. Lincoln drawing with Cardiff. We're going to see Mansfield get a result out of Stockport. Northampton beating Wimbledon. We're going to see Port Vale beaten by Peterborough. We're going to see Reading drawing with Luton. Rotherham beaten by Huddersfield. Stevenage beating Burton Albion. Wigan drawing with Blackpool, and Wycombe beating Bolton. In a big weekend there. Wimbledon beating Stevenage. Blackpool beating Mansfield. We'll see Blackpool and Doncaster draw. We'll see Bolton beat Rotherham. We'll see Wigan beat Bradford away. It's a huge result for Wigan. That Burton and Northampton drawing. Cardiff beating Exeter. Huddersfield beating Port Vale. Luton showing where they stand, to be honest, in terms of the league. Reading and Plymouth drawing, and Stockport beating Lincoln. Game week 23, where we are at. Lincoln losing their game there, sorry. Mansfield and Bolton drawing. Bradford beating Port Vale. Burton beating Wigan. Cardiff beating Stevenage. I'm going to see maybe some more gaps in the league now, like as half of the season teams start to like show where they actually are going to be going for the season. And Stockport beat Doncaster. Calculated table. Huddersfield now top of the table, 52 points halfway through the season. I mean, it's still pretty close at the top. Blackpool in second, Luton in third, Bolton up there, Cardiff, Barnsley, Wycombe are still up there alongside Stockport. Doncaster are a lot higher than I expected to be, same as Wimbledon. Plymouth have dropped to a lot lower than I thought it'd be. We've only got 6 losses, but too many draws on the board potentially for them. Go down to the relegation zone now. Exeter, Port Vale, Northampton, Rotherham, all down there. Stevenage pretty close, Mansfield pretty close, Burton pretty close to it all. I mean, there's still a lot to be decided for the rest of the season, but it's a close-ish table. Obviously, not many teams have got into that 20th point yet, but you know, there's still a few teams that be edging towards it. Looking at when we're going to do our probably game week 30 and then 36, and then as we get closer we're going to see as Doncaster beat Bolton, Exeter with a result, not the result they wanted against Luton. Leyton Orient beating Wimbledon. We're going to see Lincoln drawing with Huddersfield. We're going to see Mansfield beating Bradford. We're going to see Northampton, not the result they wanted against Stockport there. Port Vale not getting the result they wanted against Blackpool. We're going to see Reading beating Burton. We're going to see Rotherham drawing with Peterborough. We're going to see Stevenage getting beat by Plymouth. Results that they need to happen. Results that need to happen for them. Barnsley beating Wigan, and then another big draw for Cardiff and Wycombe there together. As Blackpool fight off the Bantams, Bolton beating Northampton, Cardiff beating Wigan, Doncaster and Luton drawing, Huddersfield beating Exeter, Lincoln beating Peterborough. I'm going to see Plymouth beating Burton, Port Vale getting beat by Barnsley, Reading drawing with Stockport, Rotherham getting beat by Mansfield, Stevenage drawing with Leyton Orient, and Wycombe beating Wimbledon. They try to make their way back up the table. Blackpool win their game there. Barnsley beating Wycombe though. Bradford drawing with Rotherham. Doncaster drawing with Burton Albion. Exeter beating Lincoln. We're going to see Leyton Orient beating Cardiff. Luton beating Stevenage. Yep. Reading trying to make their push against Mansfield there. Big win for them. Northampton and Port Vale drawing. Peterborough beating Bolton. Stockport beating Huddersfield, who are top of the league right now, and big change can happen like that. 3-1 win for Wigan, who were low down at the table at one point, but you know, slowly making their way up. Wimbledon beating Doncaster, Barnsley beating Blackpool, Bradford getting beat by Cardiff, unfortunately for them. Burton beat by Huddersfield, Exeter beating Stevenage. We're going to see Leyton Orient beating Reading. We're going to see Luton getting a result against Lincoln. Mansfield beating Port Vale, Northampton beating Wycombe, Peterborough and Plymouth drawing. We're going to see Stockport beat Rotherham, and then Bolton beating Wigan in a vital game for them. Blackpool beating Northampton, Bolton drawing with Leyton Orient, Cardiff beaten by Stockport, Doncaster drawing with Wigan. I think it's pretty fair. Huddersfield beating Bradford in that second tie. Lincoln and Burton drawing. Plymouth beating Luton. Big result that is for them. Port Vale beating Exeter. We're going to see Reading beaten by Barnsley. We're going to see Rotherham drawing with Wimbledon. Stevenage beaten by Mansfield, and then Wycombe beating Peterborough. Two more games away from completion of what we're going to do here. Blackpool drawing with Stockport. Bolton beating Burton. Cardiff beating Barnsley. Doncaster beaten by Leyton Orient. Huddersfield drawing with Luton. Lincoln beating Bradford. Plymouth drawing with Mansfield. It's not good results here for Plymouth. Port Vale beating Wimbledon. Rotherham beaten by Northampton. Stevenage beating Peterborough. We're going to see Wycombe drawing 2-2 with Wigan, and then Reading beating Exeter. We're getting there now, Wimbledon and Bolton drawing. Barnsley beating Stevenage. Bradford beating Doncaster. Burton and Cardiff winning that game. Exeter beating Rotherham. Leyton Orient and Port Vale drawing. Luton beating Blackpool. Mansfield drawing with Wycombe. Reading beating Northampton there. Peterborough beating Huddersfield. Stockport beating Plymouth, and then Wigan drawing with Lincoln. We're now in game week 30 and Barnsley top of the league. Oh my god, 4 teams are on 63 points. 4 teams on 63 points. Barnsley, Luton, Huddersfield and Blackpool all on 63 points. A lot to fight for. Stockport have less losses than all of them on 60 points. Cardiff are up there on 59 as well. There's a big fight going up there. Plymouth making a push slowly further. Rotherham the only team not on 20 plus points so far. Quite a few teams down there still on low points, but hey, there's 16 games left of the season, and a lot can still go on in the rest of this season now. I mean, a place for fighting has set its tone, so we'll see what happens here as Wimbledon beat thingy there. Bolton beating Barnsley is a huge result for Bolton, that, and then Huddersfield and Blackpool instantly changes to look at the table. Mansfield beating Exeter. We're going to see Northampton drawing with Stevenage. We're going to see Peterborough beating Wigan. We're going to see Plymouth beating Lincoln as they try and make their push back at the table. Port Vale beaten by Burton Albion. Rotherham beaten by Cardiff. We're going to see Stockport beating Leyton Orient, try and make their way back to the table. And Wycombe beating Doncaster. Barnsley and Wimbledon drawing their games. Blackpool beating Plymouth. We're going to see Bradford beating Peterborough. Burton beaten by Stockport. Cardiff beating Luton. Doncaster drawing with Port Vale. Exeter beating Northampton. Leyton Orient drawing with Mansfield. We're going to see Lincoln beating Bolton. This is a huge one for Lincoln, that. Reading drawing with Wycombe. Stevenage beaten by Huddersfield, and Wigan then beating Rotherham. No, Wigan then drawing with Rotherham. Barnsley beating Peterborough. Blackpool beating Mansfield Town. Bradford going on to beat Stockport there. To get beaten by Stockport, actually. Burton beating Rotherham. I don't know. No, Burton beaten by Rotherham. Let's do it like that. Cardiff beating Wimbledon. Doncaster beaten by Huddersfield. Exeter drawing with Wycombe. Leyton Orient beating Plymouth. Lincoln beating Northampton. Stevenage beating Port Vale. Wigan getting beat by Luton, and then Reading beating Bolton. Bolton letting it slip towards the end of the season here. Wimbledon beating Bradford. Bolton drawing with Blackpool. Huddersfield beating Barnsley, not allowing their place to slip up, which I imagine is probably top of the table now. Mansfield beating Lincoln. Northampton drawing with Leyton Orient. Peterborough beaten away by Exeter. Plymouth beating Cardiff. Port Vale beating Reading. Rotherham Doncaster drawing. Stockport beating Wigan, and Wycombe beating Stevenage. We're going to move on to Game Week 35, where Doncaster draw with Cardiff. Exeter are beaten by Bolton as they end their pretty stumped up run. Leyton Orient drawing with Barnsley. Lincoln drawing with Blackpool. We're going to see Mansfield beating Wimbledon. Some huge results here as Northampton get beat by Peterborough. Port Vale beaten by Luton. Reading beating Bradford. Rotherham drawing with Plymouth. Stevenage drawing with Stockport. Some huge results there. Wigan and Huddersfield drawing in. Wycombe beating Burton. Man, things might look a bit different here. Wimbledon beating Northampton. Barnsley beating Exeter. Barnsley might have found the way back to going towards the top. Blackpool beating Wigan as Bolton and Wycombe draw. Bradford beaten by Leyton Orient. Burton beating Stevenage. We're going to see Cardiff beating Lincoln. Huddersfield beating Rotherham. Luton showing just trying to get a gap on themselves. Plymouth beating Doncaster, and then Stockport beating Mansfield. 10 games to go. Huddersfield are top of the table on 69 points. Luton on 78 points. Stockport, Blackpool, Cardiff and Barnsley are all on above 70 points. All still chasing down. 10 games to go. I mean, a lot can still change. Burton, Northampton, Rotherham and Stevenage on the relegation zone. Port Vale still close to it. Exeter still close to it. I mean, where's the big gaps? I mean, there's a big gap here, I'd say. Actually, yeah, going from 14th to 18th, there being a 18-point gap. It's pretty huge and not really that common. But I mean, it shows that the competitiveness is increasing. It's going to slowly increase to being better than that. As Doncaster and Blackpool draw. Exeter beaten by Cardiff. Leyton Orient beating Peterborough. Lincoln beating Stockport is a crazy one there towards the end of the season. Barnsley and Mansfield drawing. Northampton beating Burton. Port Vale, Huddersfield not letting anything go right now. Reading beating Plymouth. We're going to see Rotherham and Bolton win that one. Stevenage beating Wimbledon. Wigan beating Bradford, and then Wycombe beating Luton. It's a big one there at the top. Game Week 41. I imagine when it's 5 games left, so we're looking at it again. Wimbledon beating Lane Orient. Barnsley beating Wigan. Good one there for Barnsley. Blackpool beating Port Vale. Bolton drawing with Doncaster. Bradford and Mansfield. Bradford win that game. Burton beating Reading. Sorry guys, I'm getting really snotty now. I've been speaking for ages. Huddersfield and Lincoln. Where do we get with that one? Huddersfield beating Lincoln, yeah. Luton winning that game. Peterborough and Rotherham drawing 2-2. We're going to see Plymouth beating Stevenage, and then Stockport beating Northampton. I think these are fair results, guys. Wimbledon beating Peterborough. We're going to see Barnsley and Doncaster draw. We're going to see Burton beaten by Bradford. No, Burton beating Bradford, I think it's fair. Cardiff beating Blackpool towards the end of the season, trying to get their results back on track. Lane Orient beating Wickham. Lincoln and Rotherham drawing. Luton just beating Stockport. Northampton getting beat by Mansfield. Plymouth beating Huddersfield. Port Vale beaten by Bolton. Stevenage beating Reading, and then Wigan drawing with Exeter. Blackpool winning games. Burton, Stevenage and Bolton drawing 2-2. Bradford beating Plymouth. We're going to see Doncaster beating Lincoln. I see Leyton Orient winning their game there. Huddersfield beating Cardiff. Northampton drawing 0-0 with Barnsley. Peterborough beating Mansfield. Reading and Wigan drawing. Rotherham beaten by Luton. Stockport drawing with Wimbledon, and Wickham beating Port Vale. So we get to this game week, and then we're like, yo, that's where we need to chill out. Bradford Bradford drawing with Northampton. Burton drawing with Barnsley. It's not the results Barnsley fans will want to see there. 2-2 between Doncaster and Mansfield. Huddersfield beating Reading. Lincoln beaten by Wimbledon. Luton beating Peterborough. Plymouth and Bolton drawing. Rotherham beating Stevenage there towards the end of the season. Stockport drawing with Wickham, and Wigan beating Leyton Orient. There we go. Calculated table. With 5 games to go, Huddersfield are top of the table, 91 points. Luton not far behind on 90 points. Blackpool on 84. I mean, Huddersfield and Luton seem to have secured their places. Wickham, Barnsley. I mean, even potentially Plymouth can still chase on the points on there. Plymouth are going to chase on the points. Barnsley are one away from moving Plymouth away from it. Relegation zone. Still a lot to be decided over the next 5 games. Even Port Vale can still catch up to Lincoln. Lincoln are not safe. All the way up to Mansfield is not safe, or 15th. We'll wait to see what happens in the last games. Exeter, Rotherham, Northampton and Port Vale all sat in that relegation zone. As Wimbledon beat Luton. It's a huge one, that, to be fair. Barnsley beating Plymouth. We're going to see Bolton beating Stockport as they try and make their push towards it. It's a good result, that. Exeter beating Doncaster. Leyton Orient beating Huddersfield, because Huddersfield can take the foot off the gas, kind of thing, know where they're at. Mansfield drawing with Burton. Northampton beating Wigan. Peterborough drawing with Cardiff. We're going to see Port Vale beating Rotherham. Reading drawing with Lincoln. Stevenage beating Blackpool, and then Wickham beating Bradford. 1 minute. And then we're going on to the Blackpool beating Peterborough there. Bradford beaten by Stevenage. Burton beating AFC Wimbledon. Cardiff and Bolton drawing 3-3. Doncaster beating Reading. We're going to see Huddersfield beating Huddersfield drawing with Wickham. They've really let the foot off the gas now, actually. Lincoln beating Leyton Orient. Luton beating Northampton as they really go for it now. Plymouth beating Exeter. Rotherham and Barnsley drawing 2-2. Stockport beating Port Vale, and then Wigan beating Mansfield Town there. If we do 3 games to go, we'll do 3 games to go. 3 games to go, and Luton are top of the table. Huddersfield on 92 points. I mean, it's still close for them both. Cardiff and Luton both over 100 goal seasons. I mean, a few teams are going to have the over goal seasons. Port Vale almost on 30 points now. 3 games left means all the way up to Bradford are not safe. Bradford, Wigan, Stevenage and Burton can all still fall into that relegation zone. You just got to hope that they don't, I guess. Yeah, and then obviously Wickham and Bolton can still make their way into the playoff spots. We'll wait and see what to do, as Wimbledon beat Plymouth there. Barnsley beating Bradford, kind of secured where they're at. Bolton beating Huddersfield throws Huddersfield's end of the season into a bit more disarray. Stockport win their game. Leyton Orient beating Rotherham. Mansfield beating Luton as well. It's not really going to help anyone out. Northampton beating Doncaster. Peterborough drawing with Burton. Port Vale beating Wigan. Reading beating Cardiff. Stevenage drawing with Lincoln, and then Wycombe beating Blackpool. Hey, coming to the last game of the season, there's going to be a lot to fight for here. Bradford beating Bolton. Bradford beaten by Bolton, actually. Burton beating Exeter City. Cardiff beating Northampton. Doncaster drawing with Stevenage. Huddersfield beating Mansfield Town. Lincoln beating Wycombe. Luton beating Barnsley there. Plymouth beating Port Vale. Rotherham beating Reading. Stockport beating Peterborough, and then Wigan and Wimbledon drawing. Last day of the season now. It is down to Luton and Huddersfield for winning the league. The playoff spots, Stockport are safe, Blackpool are safe, and it's down to Cardiff, Barnsley and Bolton to see where they can finish on the last day. Wycombe are now out of it on 80 points. And if you look down there, Northampton, Rotherham, Exeter and Port Vale all been relegated. Stevenage survive on their 40 points. Just survive. Wigan as well just survive on 41 points. Burton just survive on 41 points. Bradford still pretty down there, but they'll be very happy to be staying up. They had a very good start to the season, but 27 losses, a lot more than Rotherham, who had 15 draws. They'll be just disappointed in themselves with that. Last day of the season, Wimbledon are beaten by Huddersfield. Barnsley beat Stockport, which means that their place is secured. Bolton beat Luton, means that Bolton can make that push into it. Exeter beating Bradford on the last day. Leyton Orient drawing with Burton. Mansfield beating Cardiff Mansfield beating Cardiff be a huge one on the last day there. Northampton, Plymouth beat them. Peterborough and Doncaster drawing. Port Vale beating Lincoln City on the last day because it didn't really mean too much to them. Reading beating Blackpool, Blackpool can relax. Stevenage and Wigan, and then Wycombe beating Rotherham on the last day there. Sees Cardiff actually drop out. 105 goals scored, but was way too many conceded. 87 points, not enough. 87 points, not enough to see you into the playoffs there. I think those 8 teams are the 8 best teams. I mean, the top 9 are the 9 best teams in the league for next season. Huddersfield are a team that I have to go up anyway. I've said from the start of the season, Huddersfield are a team that's going up. Luton just behind them. And Stockport versus Bolton. Oh, it's a good one. It's a good one for the playoffs. And then Blackpool Barnsley. I think you can see a Barnsley Stockport final to be going up to the Championship there, and that'd be a very good final to have. And the year after, Cardiff should be taking it. We'll wait and see what my relegation looks like for the Championship. But that is my table predictions for League One, guys. We see Exeter, Port Vale, Northampton and Rotherham all relegated. There, it's exciting, most exciting. I said Huddersfield win the league. Let me know your predictions down in the comments, guys, and let's talk about football, because we're back now. We're back to talk about football. It's been a hiatus over summer. Usually I like talking about transfers and stuff like that, but I've just not been on it. So let's get back on it, guys.